What's up, everyone? So we're back with episode 4, and we have Roach on the line. What's up, Roach?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So today we're gonna kick it off with why don't you start it off this time, man?
I guess we're gonna start it off. I mean, with the big, I think the big news was that started off. I know we're a couple days late, but the Trump may be releasing Ross.
Yep.
Apparently, if he gets elected on day one, they're gonna let him go. But that whole thing was weird, anyways. So they should already. Obviously, we all think that everybody should let him go, but apparently, he's trying to pander to the libertarian crowd. That's like the thing. That was all really in the headlines last week, like on major headlines too. So
Yep. Guys, I think they were in New Hampshire. They were like booing the shit out of him.
so that's the thing, and then he just caught a bunch of felony, charges.
Yep.
I think they charged him too. So maybe, it's just like trying to throw a dog a bone.
Yeah, I mean, the feds are horrible. Once they get a hold of you, they pretty much run wild with it. And I think it's just crazy to me that like our choices are a dude who like is and I got no beef against people who got Fed cases. I had one myself, but a dude who has a Fed case and like this other dude who doesn't know what planet he's on.
Nice, Joe. You're gonna put your own back in chain. Wait. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Like the dude with dementia effectively has been running the country for like the last 3 years or whatever. So it's like kind of goes to show, do we even need someone to like? I mean, like if we a dude who doesn't know what day it is and doesn't know how to walk off a stage can run the country, I think you can stick basically anyone in there, and like no one can tell me we don't have more qualified people than him.
Dude, I knew we were gonna be completely trashed with that guy when the president of Chad died on the battlefield. When he Biden first got elected, and then we're looking at Biden that can't, string coherently 2 words together. And I was like, man, here we go. This guy is on the dying on the battlefield with his people, and we have this fucking guy, And and I'm looking at like where people are listening to us and stuff, so it's all over the world.
Yep.
And I bet you they're just laughing, having a field day with that shit. It's just very embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but that's the thing, going back to Trump. Trump really wanted to win that thing. All he has to say is weed's legal. He's got to cut another check and let Ross out, and I think that'd get him going.
Yep. I hate all politicians. Like I'm not a good one to have this conversation with.
No, but and then apparently, like the third party, the libertarian guy, what was this? He had like a brain worm, like crawl into his head and die in there. Yeah, dude, this is what we have. This is the best. Telling you. Anyway, but that whole case is all messed up. And then doing research on it, the arresting guy, that Chris Tarbo guy.
Yep.
I mean, he even got out and did a crypto company himself.
Yep.
He's, and it's weird how like everybody that's on that case got out and got on crypto. It's like a very strange thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he ended up jacking some crypto with his FBI buddies.
Maybe they had that Carl Force guy to go down with them, and then that Sean Bridges, but they were corrupt. And that's the thing, is like, how did they even lock him up just on that? Well, what was the reasoning on that, you think? Like,
what do you mean?
So they know the case is corrupt and tainted, and somehow they still push the life sentence. It's like, I don't know, like, and then he appealed it and lost it.
Basically, from my understanding of the case, what happened was like his charges, he didn't actually get charged with and like trying to have people hit, right?
Right.
But they brought it up and they used it for sentencing purposes, which is crazy because at the end of the day, like if you're if you're not convicted of something, you're supposed to be able to use it for sentencing purposes.
Oh, so it was like to trying to get the people killed. Is the
Yeah.
thing that they brought him down.
Yeah, when he tried to have like 2 or 3 people whacked, and like they had brought that up, and that was one of that was like one of the purposes of his life sentence was exactly that. But the entire case, from my understanding, like there was a lot of issues that were inside of that case that weren't actually addressed because there's a saying, and it's like the feds can indict a ham sandwich. And
Right, yeah.
yeah, what's funny is a judge out of, I think, the circuit court in New York famously said that, is like quoted for years. And later on, that judge got indicted.
Wow. It's like Giuliani with the RICO. They used to
Yeah.
use the RICO to get him.
Yeah.
Wild shit, man.
So like, but there was a lot of stuff, like I think from my remember, it was like Operation Onion Peeler, I think, was the name of the code name that they had for the operation. There was a bunch of OPSEC mistakes that like Ross had made, and a lot of people like to be like, oh yeah, he screwed up all these times, and like, yeah, he did, but he didn't have many examples to look at to have good OPSEC. Like nowadays, a vendor that gets busted or a darknet admin that gets busted, like, why did you get busted? But it's usually just sheer stupidity because there's been so many
Right.
people that have made mistakes before them. There's absolutely no reason for them to make that mistake. Like with Ross's mistake with him being linked to the Frosty account and all the other like little things that got him caught up. Those are things now that people can look at from a historical perspective and say, okay, like, I'm not going to have my darknet identity associated with my clearnet identity. Like,
Right.
they're going to be
Yeah.
completely separate on different machines, and they should be. Because if something happens, man, you get malware, and like, say you're using Windows and you're also maybe using the Tor browser, and you get malware, or you have a keylogger,
Right.
like,
Well, I
or
remember I used to bust people with the Apache mod status and all that stuff back in the day too.
yep. Like php.info, like you're looking at that kind of stuff for to find like hidden market IP addresses or something. Is that what you're talking about?
And they were also just like built really fucked up back then, I think. Like,
Yep.
you would see a bunch of stuff in the code that and that's what in markets when they first they got people would go hit them up. Go take a couple $1,000 off of them.
Yep.
It's happened, I remember when they first started with these drug markets, everybody who wasn't selling drugs was looking away like how to get the money out,
Yep. Yep. But like one of the things that like with Ross's case, from my understanding, like they had one of the complaints they had was that there was like no proper warrant. So like the FBI used a method that was called network investigative technique, and they used it to locate the server without obtaining a search warrant. And basically, like the technique involved exploiting a vulnerability in Silk Road's actual login page, which like a ton of like legal experts had argued that it completely bypassed any legal avenues like that they were actually supposed to go down, that they would have went down um in another case. But like when they go down those avenues and they ask for permission to do something like with a warrant, those things, they have to have very concrete evidence in a lot of cases, minus like a FISA court, to be able to do stuff like that.
Right.
So like they don't want to do that. Like and
I remember
but
when they took them down, they came back up.
Mhm.
Remember when they relaunched? That was wild. That was like the first incident, so I saw that in the computer world.
Yep. But I mean, that instance raised Fourth Amendment concerns. Like the use of that specific technique basically raised concerns, as it could be could be considered as like a unreasonable search and seizure because there was no judicial oversight. Like there was no judge that signed off on the use or the ability to do something invasive like that. So that was one of the things that the defense had stated. And I mean, they had, to be honest, man, they had legal precedent for that. There's a case, I want to say it was like Carpenter versus the U.S. Don't quote me, I might be wrong, but
Right.
in Carpenter, if that's the right one, they had set up a precedent of requiring a warrant for digital searches. So that like that citation really highlighted the fact that the FBI had overreached in that particular instance. And there was a couple of different things that I know people had pointed out, like the risk to civilians. When they went and arrested him, they arrested him at a public library. And like a lot of times law enforcement will try to mitigate, they'll try to do risk mitigation, especially with things like apprehending an individual if they're not sure how that individual is going to react. So someone with no criminal history, he might flip out. He might have been armed. They didn't know. I mean, they knew that he tried to have people whacked. So if someone's on a level like that, you're probably better off taking precautions. They could have easily done something else, pulled him over on a traffic stop, detained him on that, and had him on on a country road or someplace safer. Like I know sheriffs that if they're going to go raid a house, they'll pull someone over, detain them, arrest them, and then hit the house because they know no one's there. They're not going to accidentally shoot someone. So, like that public safety risk of arresting him in a public library could have posed a risk to the other people in the library. And there was no real reason to do it aside from showboating.
You know what I was thinking? What if, here's the thing, because nowadays they're kidnapping admins from all over the country, or I mean, obviously they're extraditing them, but like, think of Milky and all them. Would they? So they're always busting people with charges within the United States, even though they never set foot in here.
Sure.
What if, like, and this is for entertainment, I'm not telling anybody go out and do this, but what if somebody, right, started a market, hosted it, maybe not in the United States, but was from like over like a Westerner, and like they sold to Russia or to China, like a market where they're just pulling off of those people. Would they still get charged? Because I was thinking about the guy from 8chan. Remember, like he did that old Q thing. I don't know. You were probably in prison during that whole QAnon thing.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, the dad, the way he made his money is in Japan, when you look at porn, it's all censored and stuff because some law there. So what he did was rent servers in the United States, uncensored it, and then just put Japanese domains on there where, he wasn't breaking the law and they were getting uncensored porn.
Yep.
And that's how he would make his money.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if he did that with like a market? What kind of charges would you see?
Whatever ones they wanted you to have.
So they would still charge you? Like if there was nobody from the United States or Canada or anyone, it was just strictly quote unquote the people they don't like government wise. Would you still catch a charge?
I think if the feds at the end of the day want you, whether that's a United States attorney or a senator, that maybe a senator, his great granddaughter gets caught smoking weed or snorting coke or something, like he gets pissed off about it, and he goes on like a vendetta, or like if it's just a lot of times like the anti-drug crusaders are the ones. A lot of times they're the ones doing the drugs. But I think that if they want you at the end of the day for anything, like they can get you. And the reason I say that is because like you don't even have to do anything as extreme as like what you're talking about. You just have to exist. Like if there's just like a federal agent who doesn't like you, or a United States attorney who doesn't like you, or something like that, you have people in positions in this country that can totally decimate your life, and you have no clue how powerful these people actually are. And like I say that, and as a point I've made before, like on my channel, where it's like you take a lawyer who studied law for 7 years, and they don't memorize all the laws. Like, they can't. It's literally impossible. I could turn around right now, take all of, like, intellectual law, international law, civil law, family law for every different state, criminal law for every different state,
Right.
federal law, and take all of that and plug it into an AI. And even then the next week when there's a law passed and it's 1,000 pages, 5,000 pages, like, even an AI wouldn't be able to keep up unless you were constantly feeding it things that had changed. And then you have cases that get overturned, so you'd have to be plugging that in too. So, like, what's my point? My point is that even something that never sleeps and has the ability to memorize copious amounts of data in or store it in fractions of a second couldn't know every law and follow every law.
Right.
So, and someone who studies the law, they can't do it either. Right? Fucking lawyer can't do it, and they study law for 7 years. So none of us have a fighting chance. So if they want you, basically, all they really have to do is watch you for a few days. And there's a study by a professor and a book put out by a professor named, I forget his first name, but something Silvergate. And the name of it was 3 felonies a day. And he talked about how your average person, like the person who is so paranoid about breaking the law, they never speed. How, like, on your mattress, how you have like
Right.
that tag that says "Don't remove this."
Oh yeah.
It's like, it's a federal law if you remove this. Like, people rip it out, gives a shit. Like your law-abiding citizen who doesn't speed, doesn't even rip the tag off their mattress, because they like want to follow all of society's rules. Which I'm not criticizing. There's people that are like that. Good, however you live your life is however you live your life. But my point is, even that person who tries to live within all those rules, it's still impossible for them to do so because they cannot have a hope at memorizing even a fraction of the laws that we have in this country. And so
Right.
you're set up for failure. So my to answer your question, I would say if they want you for something, they'll get you for it. And it doesn't matter what it is at the end of the day, because between them getting you, between upward departures, between them getting someone else to say that you did something, giving you a conspiracy charge for whatever it is, hitting you with a mandatory 10 or mandatory 20 for it, it's not very difficult to put someone in federal prison for multiple decades. Like, when when you get a state case, depending on the state, when you get a state case, a lot of the times you're going to serve a very small fraction of whatever that sentence is. Like, at one point, people would serve, in some states, people would serve 1/10 of what the actual sentence was. And then they passed a law called Truth in Sentencing, and it totally, like, it changed a lot of that. But like in feds, like, there's not even any parole. So, like, you're going to do 85% of your time regardless. So then if you get if you get a mandatory minimum, or
Right.
like where it's like you got 20 years and it's a mandatory minimum, or 10 years, and like there's no good time. So you're not even getting that 15% off for good time. Like, you're doing 100% of it.
I was thinking more like how like um the Russians and stuff that they'll have crews in Russia and then they'll be working cleaning US banks. But I'm talking about reversing that. Have you not ever heard of anybody just working just Russian banks from over here? That's what I was saying. Like if you run a market over there and it's strictly just over there and you're making the money,
Uh-huh.
what kind of charge would they give you? You know what I mean? Like reversing it. I've never into my mind, in my head, I've never heard of anything people making money like that, like they do over there, you know?
Yep.
I
Yeah.
was just wondering what kind of charges, probably just money laundering.
Money laundering. So a catch-all charge that they love to use is conspiracy. And there's so many upward departures on that it's crazy. So they can hit anyone with a conspiracy charge basically at any time. Because the reason for that is, like, in the state, you're gonna have stuff like reasonable doubt, right? So, like, it's the difference, a good comparison between like, from my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, so this isn't legal advice, but from my understanding, in the States, you'll have stuff like reasonable doubt, where in the feds, you'll have like preponderance of the evidence. So like in the state, it would be like if I want to, if like I'm using your land and like you say, hey, Sam, like you can cut across my land to get to the store because if you do that, you'll get to the store a half hour sooner. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And because it's your land at any point in time, you could choose to remove that privilege that I have because
Right.
you have an inherent right to your land. So maybe one day you do that. You say, hey, you can't use my land anymore. I say, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. And unbeknownst to you, I go do it anyways. Well, you go and you catch me on CCTV and you go out and you look and you see like, oh, my boot prints or my shoe prints are there. You take pictures of it. You have me crossing your field on CCTV and you press like trespassing charges, right? Now, we go to court and you have to prove that it was me in a trial. You have to prove that it was me beyond a reasonable doubt, which means there can be no doubt, basically, that it was me that did it. So if there is a doubt, then I can get acquitted.
Right.
So in the feds, in the feds, how it works is it could be like you bring that. This case wouldn't be applicable in a federal court. I'm just comparing the two. So
Right.
in a federal court, if it was the same situation, you would be like, maybe you don't have the CCTV, right? So you don't have the CCTV, and you can't see the exact boot print that I left. It's like a smudge instead. So, like you say, oh, well, like, so they're like, all right, what's the evidence? Like, oh, I have this smudge, this indent on the, like the wet grass, and you can't clearly make out that it's Sam's boot, and you can't clearly make out the size of the shoe, but it looks about the same size as Sam's boot print. Um,
Right.
and it's like, okay, well, what else do you have? Well, I told him he couldn't cross the land, and I think it's him, and like the shoe print looks about his size. A judge could be like, well, and that's good enough and find you guilty because they're looking at the evidence and saying, do I think this person did it based on the evidence that's presented? So with a state court, it's much more, it's a much more higher standard because you have to prove it almost as a conclusive fact. Whereas in the feds, the judge just basically has to believe it. Kind of.
So my like if I walk up in the court and be like, "Hey, Your Honor, it's okay. I stole this from ISIS. No need to pay taxes." They'd be tripping.
So what they would do, because I mean, it's a business, is they would probably seize your property, or they would say if you stole something and it's worth so much, then that's an enhancement. We're gonna charge you X amount of money to pay restitution. I mean, not to the person you stole it from, but to us, the courts, even though you didn't actually do anything to the courts. And that's
Yeah,
kind of like,
that's their enemy, man. I stole from their ops. They should be cheering me on.
yeah, I mean, I think it's debatable on who the enemy is, considering the fact that we have more people incarcerated in this country than any other country ever has in the history of the world.
Right.
Maybe the enemy is actually everyone that's not a god level person. That's not a doctor, or a senator, or a lawyer, or inside a particular system of control.
Right.
Um, that would be an interesting philosophy to explore, and I think there's some merit to that. But then again, they'll also they'll indict their own people too. Like I said, that judge, for example, he got indicted. So I think it's like an open house on everyone. But I don't think that unless you're actively investigating, that you can break federal laws and be cool with it. Like I know feds that have broken federal laws. I had agents that broke laws in
Right.
my case to catch me. My OPSEC was specifically set up to make them have to break the law in order to catch me, and they did, and it didn't matter. So, so I can tell you with absolute certainty that um yeah, like you can in certain situations, but I don't think you could in any of the situations that you've enumerated.
Man, they're just hating all around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a business. The 13th Amendment clearly says that the only way you can be basically a slave is if you're convicted and duly convicted.
Well, that's man. Let's get to some happier news. Some dude won 76,000 on the Archetype Lotto.
Yep, yep.
The
That's
numbers
awesome.
haven't been released. I was asking for the numbers, and then they didn't give me the numbers. Because I would play those numbers, and I'd like to play the Lotto. Not that Lotto, but I play the Mega Ball and all that.
Yep, yep.
I'm the type of dude that plays my certain numbers, and sometimes I'll do numbers that have been hit, weird ritual shit like that. But yeah, man,
Yep.
I wonder if that 76 changed that person's life. Hopefully that person's fiscally responsible and it doesn't blow it all on heroin and fucking crack parties.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, if that happens, then there's gonna be some other dude that's overjoyed about it. You know, some drug dealer.
Right.
He'll be able to go do his own thing. So
Yeah. Well,
has there been any other winners from like because the lotto you're referring to is the Archetyp Darknet
yeah.
Markets lottery that they had. Have they had like any other
I think
winners
this
and
is the
like
first. I think this is the first guy.
no shit?
I know people was winning on the dice,
Yep.
and but they took that away because that's the certain dice is the certain things, right? And plus, and then once again, like I thought that it was novel because where we're playing that game is a danger. Generally it's a dangerous game. No one really wants to be shooting dice in unsafe places, but uh generally, but the thing was that I think people were winning too much on that one, so they took it off.
Yep. Yep. So like how does the lottery actually work on Archetype?
Uh, it, I don't know. I think the tickets are like $1 or 2 or something. Probably
Yep.
like a normal like. But here's the thing: most markets have lotteries, and you never hear anybody win them.
Yeah.
It's just like that little. They're just skeeping off, getting off the side. This guy actually says that, hey, this guy's well, he hasn't let who has been known, but somebody hit it. So,
Yep.
supposedly. But I'm just saying that's good news. Hopefully somebody that changed somebody's life. Obviously, we want all good, but sometimes one thing I know, you just can't give like poor people 76K too at the same time.
Well, I mean, I think the worst case scenario is maybe the dude was addicted to H or something, and like now he's gonna go OD because
Hopefully that was his rehab money and we could butterflies and sunshines and shit and
you like to think it went to someone's college fund.
someone's backs and they're gonna leverage it on the stocks and make even more off of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Or it's probably going to like one crazy acid party in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was like so like in other news, man. You see, Breach Forums had gotten seized by the feds.
Yeah. And
So yeah, so it got
they're coming
seized.
back.
Yeah. Okay. So you had raid forums. Raid forums got taken down. Admin got arrested. Then they resurrected it. And Baphomet was the admin, and they got hit, and they took that down. And now they came back, and they came back a third time now, which a lot of people are like, oh, it's a honeypot, which totally makes sense. I wouldn't argue against that logic.
I mean, it's the same code.
It's the same site, same
They're
like
making all that money, They're making all that money selling these leaks, and they can't even hire somebody to customize their fucking shit.
I'm seeing like so for like those of you that don't know, like you have hackers who will go steal data, exfiltrate data. They'll steal it and then they'll sell it on different hacking forums, right? And it's breach data. And that's like the term for it, or like leaks. They're different. Leaks and breaches are different, but that's a whole different video that I'm actually doing right now. So I'm not gonna get into that. But basically they'll go and they'll sell this data, and what I'm starting to see is shiny hunters, which is a group that exists, that's basically a hacking group that does a lot of breaches, is the new admin at, like, we'll call it breach forums version 3 now. And what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of posts on like certain forums, and we're seeing like that post will go on a forum by a person who has like no post history, and then you'll see that same post mirrored by shiny hunters on breach forums. So an example of that is like there was a bank who's like got a ton of data exfiltrated, and it went up for sale. I think it was on XSS. And then like an hour or two later, that same data, that same bank's data and the same things that were for sale went up for sale by shiny hunters on breach forums. So that's interesting.
But here's the thing, right? Just like I haven't really been in the the threat hunter scene, malware scene, probably in a long, in a long time.
Yep.
So like, but the thing is there's a lot of like kind of flags for me, man. First off,
Sure.
a lot of supposed smart people doing a lot of dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, bringing back my BB. Maybe it could be like they have this database saved, and I mean, but that there's workarounds for that. Then the money and stuff. Like, has anybody seen any like the money they actually been getting, and or like, is it like, I don't know, is it for real? Like, I haven't seen any receipts really. Like, I haven't, like, there wasn't even anything from the DOJ, right, on the breach form bust.
Yeah,
Like, they didn't even put a.
that was crazy. Yeah, they
Isn't that weird?
they love bragging about their busts.
And then in the same time, the Doxman guy was doing some weird shit too.
Yep.
And that I don't know, this whole thing with breach forms just screams, stay away, man.
It's like, so the day that they said it was back up, I went and I checked, and like I went to go register, and like I couldn't register, like all registrations locked out. So I tried to log in, and they're like, "Oh, you can't log in." And like when it had went down, like, so with my two-factor authentication, like I hate having entries in my two-factor authentication tools that like are dead sites. You know what I'm saying?
We all
So
have them.
yeah, so like when they got taken down, I was like, okay, all right, that's it for that. I like deleted that entry. And
Yeah.
then it like it came back like, right away. So like when I went to go log in, and like I let me log in, and then like I had my 2FA, and I was like, son of a bitch. so so I had to create a different account for it, and then like I made in the intro post, I was like, listen, like, don't rep this account. Like, cause like what happens is like when I make accounts on these forums, because like a lot of people in those worlds watch this content, or at least
Right.
know about this content. So like when I hop on there, I get people that like upvote me, or like will like send credit to my account to like up my reputation. And I had to tell them on this one, I'm like, listen, don't rep me on this, because I'm trying to get my other account back. And I wrote Shiny Hunters and
Right.
Hollow. And I was like, hey, listen, because it's a forum account, dude. So I'm like, yo, can you remove 2FA? You're an admin. I know you can, because I've been an admin on various forums. yo, can you remove 2FA off my account and so I can reset it? And I messaged him that like days ago and just heard absolutely nothing back. I mean, could be they're just busy. Could also be like there's no like it's maybe the FBI is just too busy to respond back to me right now.
Or yeah, in the way that I mean, if it was a bust, sometimes these forums, I remember like I think it was Dark Node or something, or the original one, not the market that ripped their shit off. But yeah, I think didn't one of the admins get busted carting gas in Canada somewhere? You know, they get busted doing the dumbest shit.
And what's crazy, man, about a lot of the especially I mean just like maybe not like dudes who like a lot of hacking charges I see dudes get hit real hard. Like they get
Right.
like I see dudes get 15 years for hacking charges. Like the feds really don't like that. It's like money laundering. There's certain stuff they really hate. Like you'll see pedophiles get 2 years, and then you'll see a dude who broke into a database get 15. They just smoke him. It's like
Right.
when they took Mitnick and threw him in solitary for like 3 years. Like,
Right.
because they're like, oh, he can whistle the launch codes for nuclear weapons on the phone, and it's just it's out of a complete lack of understanding of technical related stuff. But no, I absolutely agree that you see some, and that's what kind of like what I was saying earlier with like when you see some of these darknet market admins who make or even vendors that just make horrendous like operational security mistakes. One of them that I covered on like Darknet Demystified, this guy had purchased shipping labels, like 1,000 shipping labels with like a credit card in his name, got it sent to his address, and then all the packages he shipped with those labels. Um, and because he shipped them with those labels and he had an account on the site, the feds could see every single package he ever shipped. Not only that, the return address he was using was his apartment address.
Mhm.
It's like, so, but there's like, you have people who get into this stuff who have no background in cybersecurity or even information technology, just on a basic, like a customer service level, like a basic call center level.
Oh
They,
yeah.
they have absolutely no experience with any of this stuff. Like maybe they sold drugs on the street or something, and now they think like, oh, I'm qualified to go sell drugs in the dark end. It's like, dude, like you should really have like 10 years of information technology and information security training, and then you should understand operational security and how that is culminated in with those other two things, along with physical security and forensics, and like it's just crazy. And that's why like I tell people, like if you are qualified to be a darknet vendor, like you are set, man. Like you can pretty much do anything that you put your mind to because you've operated a business in such a hostile environment, or you knew so much to be able to even get to that point that you should do something else. But then you have those other people who don't know anything and just elect to do that, and what they don't realize is like the adversaries you have, the local dealer who sells powder coke or whatever, like his adversaries might be the town cops or maybe like the DEA at worst. Um, but like when you're doing this stuff with the darknet, like your adversaries are global. Like now you're taking on like Europol, all these, which is a culmination of like 90 agencies alone.
Right.
But you're also taking on every American organization and the German police and all these other and like, dude, if you don't even know OPSEC, this is the same guy who's like on Facebook talking about like or IG or whatever or Snapchat, trying to sell on there. Oh, I got that fire. DM me.
But one thing too, I would add for your common sense.
Yep.
Like you gotta have some common fucking sense, and I don't know. I never. I'm not saying that I did anything or, well, I mean, people don't know. If you don't, you don't.
Yep.
But, um, your whole life when you're operating like that is you constantly got to be on it. Like it's a whole lifestyle. And like now, like we're doing like this, show educationally, uh, and talking about this stuff. Um, it's crazy that when I can relax now, like I was telling you with the website, like I don't even got to worry about people DDoSing it because I could use all this ClearNet shit. I don't even have to fucking code or even expand 9 servers and none of that bullshit.
Yep.
Just click load balancer and set all my shit up. So, but that's the thing was just like a lot of these people that get cocky.
Yep.
And they get complacent. And that's the thing. You always got to be, you can always got to be in your head like, man, I can never be caught lacking because, because that will get you.
I think the latter that you mentioned, the complacency, is probably the biggest adversary in terms of OPSEC in general. And I don't care if you're a darknet vendor, darknet administrator, or a guy in the Marine Corps.
Right.
Like that complacency is something that, or a secretary at a company or a startup, like a startup that has angel investors with R&D. Like, how much is your R&D worth? Like, oh, we're making a new pacemaker and our angel investor gave us 25 million, and like the amount that R&D is going to be worth is going to be far more than whatever they got from that angel investor. So like that's a lot of things there's a lot of motivation for a threat actor
Right.
to break into to be able to sell. But like speaking of like break-ins and cyber attacks, man, did you see anything about the 911 S5 botnet that like that got taken down?
Some bold dudes, man. Bold dudes. Okay, so first off, they were running one of those. I think it was a free VPN,
Yep.
right? Free VPN. I think it was 2 of them. But so if you use their free VPN, then they got your real IP that you're connecting to.
Yep.
So they were selling those as like socks, clean, unlisted. Spam host hasn't even seen it, clean,
Yep.
squeaky clean proxies. And when you get services like this, man, these ones are dangerous. If because you can get proxies within like 30 miles of somebody's set address, and if you're doing fraud, if you can get as close as you can and get it, like a IP, it's gonna pass a lot of blocks for you.
Yep.
And
Can you explain like what like, so someone that's never heard that before, doesn't know anything about it, like if they were like, well, what are you talking? Why would that even matter?
Spam hosts and a bunch of these other companies, they're like, I want to say, I think I label spam hosts as almost like vigilantes. Like they think they're like Batman of the internet or some shit, going around and saying, these IPs are spam, these IPs are this and that. So they'll label them, and then you can check the score of your IPs. With if you have I always use my own, but you check your score against if it's black host, spam hosts blacklisted it, or of so and so and all these other companies. And if you get a good score back, say if like they haven't even seen this IP, what you can do is, if you have you use it as a proxy, you can just plug it in and just surface them. And then from there, right, is say, okay, now I got, I'm within, Google Maps says, or everything says I'm within like 5 minutes from your house. Then I could be like, back in the day, I don't know, I don't know what it is now, but back in the day, it would be like phone emulators.
Okay.
Plug the phone emulator in, and then plug in and check and get on their PayPal, or get on there and connect their shit to like Coinbase and pull coins.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the spoof card back in the day. There was a card if you went to like a gas station or like a CVS sometimes, they had a card called a spoof card. And you could go in, you could buy the spoof card, and basically what it would let you do is like if I'm calling you, I would go and like I would dial the number, and then in like an automated bot would be like, "Oh, what phone number do you want to use as like the return?" And I could plug that number in. So like maybe I want to like prank you. So maybe I do it and I put in like the FBI's headquarter numbers or CIA's number. And then I call you, and on your caller ID, with the spoof card, it shows up as whatever number I put in. So if I put in like the CIA's main switchboard or Langley, like it's going to pop up and it's going to say that, or it's going to, if it's FBI, it's going to say that, or DHS, whatever. And then you could do the same thing. You can spoof texts too. Now, obviously, like if you had law enforcement investigating this thing, it'd be fairly easy to figure out who did it, unless you knew for a fact that your phone was good and you had like a complete burner phone that was totally clean and de-googled. But yeah, so is that what you mean? Like something like as far as like emulation goes?
Well, yeah. So you're trying to make it look like a phone, trick the fucking trick the browser fingerprinting and all that. But the thing with these guys too is, they have on base, they have their Post Exchange, right, which is a company kind of called AFES. It's a PX,
Okay.
right?
And what's a PX?
The Post Exchange. This was where you go on base to go buy all your stuff.
Okay.
They got like brand new Jordans in there and like no tax. The stuff that they sell to the soldiers.
Okay.
But they were making accounts and then running it through AFI somehow, which when you mess with the military, they're gonna dude, it's the government, and they found that, dude, the government's gonna just like completely nail them to the wall, bro.
Sure. Yeah. So like, but from my understanding, they had like 19 million IP addresses globally, and some like 600,000 that were just US specific.
Yeah, that's the thing too, and they got it all from like the fake VPNs.
But I know the charges that I had seen was like cyber attacks, fraud, child exploitation, harassment, bomb threats, like
So
extortion
ev-
violations. Like,
everybody that they sold those IPs to, that's what they were doing on them.
yep, yep. And then they had pandemic fraud. There was like 500,000 fraud unemployment claims that they had put in, that they said was like it was like 5.9 billion in losses in total
That shit.
for the fraudulent unemployment claims, from my understanding.
Okay, so like I remember a few episodes back, we were talking about like fraud being really big in the hood,
Sure.
and that kind of reminded me of this. I was back, home. This guy was telling me about and he kind of knew what he was talking about, but RDPs,
Yep.
and he'd bought them from a place where they were actually like, it would be like a dentist office and stuff.
Yep.
And he would log in, and he's like, "Why, when I log into it, there's websites opening up and the mouse is moving?" I was like, "'Cause they're the people that you're on, they're actually using the computer, bro.
Yep.
Don't wait till see where they're at. Wait till the nighttime and then go on there." But yeah, that reminds me of stuff. So it's like people doing crazy shit like stuff like that, and then selling Elvis, man, like this other thing with the Graceland auction
Yep.
sale.
Yep. Yep. To wrap up with the other one, there was like they I think they grabbed like 70 servers or something from those guys.
I mean, they hit Elvis, man.
And then
And
oh no, I'm talking about the other guys with the
oh,
VPN. Like they're looking at like 65 years or some shit like that.
they're probably looking at a long time.
Yeah.
So it's probably more because they were running things through the exchange, man.
Yep.
And that like, I don't know. One thing maybe is that I grew up learning from just other hackers who were getting arrested and stuff around me and stuff. was never steal from the military or the government, never
Yep.
impersonate them, never just leave them alone.
Yep.
Don't attack them, don't do nothing. So running, cashing out through A fees is completely crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, was Jesus on the cross, but they're gonna put that throat through that one of those nails through the throat
Yep. Yep.
for that one.
Yeah. They love to make an example. I mean, you need proof of that. You just look at Ross, who has no violence to his crimes and got 2 life sentences plus 40 years or some insanity for running a website.
Right. And yeah, well, like we alluded to earlier, and trying to kill somebody.
Yeah, but I mean,
That was coerced.
but
I feel
that
like.
wasn't. I mean, he wasn't actually found guilty of that. So, like the fact that you can basically use for sentencing purposes something that wasn't even substantiated, or wasn't even something that they actually convicted him of is absolutely corrupt to me. Like you didn't find him guilty of trying to whack people.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing is like I feel like they still think that they have like the upper moral high ground on things, and it's just like really falling apart, like the bridges.
Yep.
And the roads,
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Going to the selling Graceland thing. Do you want to
that's,
talk? What are you talking about with Graceland?
I mean, it's why? First off, it's a very specific target. Like personally, Elvis ain't got no money left. First,
Do you want to explain to like the people that are like in Gen Z what Graceland is?
Graceland is just where Elvis used to live. It's somewhere, I think in like Tennessee, somewhere, right?
Yeah,
It's in Tennessee. I've never been,
should,
man.
should we explain who Elvis is?
Elvis is this guy that stole a bunch of music. Well, he stole and he made rock and roll.
Yep.
Yes. And this is before our time too. All I remember is looking at pictures of this guy and all like, somebody's great great grandma's out there losing her shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I think it was Tennessee though.
It's Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then but after watching that Elvis movie where Tom Hanks is in or whatever, and like the Colonel, like Elvis
I didn't see it.
completely got ripped off, man. They was it he was getting like I don't want to say like I don't know the facts, but I know he was getting ripped off.
Yep.
So to say this is like okay, but I guess it was some sort of grift.
Yep.
Um and dude, the hit. I mean, that's kind of I kind of feel it's a little low. I'm not some Elvis lover and stuff, but they got no money.
Yep.
They get better. There's better targets out there.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like they tried to auction it basically for like 2.8 or 2.9 million. It was something like there was like a high 2 point something million that they were trying to like auction it off for.
That's got to be like somebody's weird bucket list. Like you have weird things like on my weird bucket list, like I wouldn't mind, meeting like an art thief.
Yep.
Or, here's the thing. Since I'm an American and it would never happen here, I would love to get into like hooliganism and get into a soccer riot. That would be, I don't even know, like that would be like peak. Because a lot of my stuff I've already crossed off. But soccer riot,
couldn't you just like go to Philly and like wait for the Eagles to win or lose and then experience that?
no, it's not. But it's not one of those soccer riots like you see overseas,
Okay, all right.
where they're throwing flares and shit. It looks generally like, that would be wild.
I think the whole thing with Graceland though, is like that con of trying to sell something that's not yours. Like I've seen people like go into empty apartments and then like hop on Craigslist and list those apartments for sale at like a ridiculously low price, and
Oh yeah,
then have people come in and they'll be like, "Oh, like I want first and security." And maybe they're like listing it for like $800 when it should be like 1,500 or something. And they're like, "I want like the down payment today," and like they're basically taking that cash and screwing someone over. But all of those kind of cons, um, there was a video I watched on social engineering way back in the day, given by some chick, and it was at a cybersecurity conference, but it was really good. She did really good with it. And the guy she had actually analyzed was this guy called Victor Lustig, I think it was. And he had he had tried to sell the Eiffel Tower, um, like twice or three times.
right,
And what he did was like he would say that he would say he was a government official,
right.
and he would talk to scrap metal dealers and tell them that they were gonna scrap it. and and like, dude, it was millions. Like it was crazy, crazy. And like he had done this repeatedly. And like you saw the same thing with the Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge also got sold by a guy like Parker and McCloudy. Had sold it, I think, multiple times with like fake documents. And like the Sydney Opera House was another one that got sold. And people like the con artist posed as like an official from Australian government. But it's like you have multiple examples of like of people selling property that basically isn't theirs in like all these different interesting ways.
And the people that buy, it never kind of reminded me of like this story. This crackhead or whatever. I was at the bus stop and this guy was talking, and he was saying like how he would love to work with the metal people when he was like stealing the catalytic converters
Yep. Yep.
over his biggest nemesis, who would be the pawn shop that always rejected him. So I always thought that was hilarious. It's like, now that, people who take scrap metal will work with anybody of any shape, and they're
Yep.
like the new fence.
Yeah.
I bet you could take gold to them and they'd work with you.
Yeah, I bet so too. Yeah.
I mean, I've never done a B&E ever, but if
Yep.
I did, now I know is take everything to the scrap metal guy.
I did when I was a kid. Yeah, when I was a kid, I did. I did a couple of them. And that's where my fascination with security actually began. When I was 12, I used to take shit apart. Oh, like I guess it started maybe 8 or 9. I would take stuff apart and see if I could configure it different and try to put it back together. Like my mom probably went through a ton of clocks. But like I used to take shit apart all the time. Then like my stepfather came in my life and he ended up beating the shit out of me, so I stopped taking stuff apart.
I never did that. How when I was a kid, there was the Honda airbags. You go with the
Yep.
spark plugs
Yep.
and go get the Honda airbags, and you just go down the street, toot, 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 and the other one.
And that's a whole different hustle that you're talking about. Like
That's
so with the white
that
porcelain that
was
you break off with the spark plugs, like that was something with remember back in like the early 2000s. Well, I mean, still probably a thing in a lot of places, but like you'd have like those massive subwoofer boxes with the amplifier in the trunk.
oh yeah,
Like I
like
remember
the
going,
punch ones,
yep,
Clarions.
yep. You go and you could either do the porcelain, or you could take like a regular screwdriver and peel back the black on the window and put the screwdriver as close to the window, like where the mirror is, as possible, and then gently pull back, and it would just would shatter the whole window. If you do it too hard, it would break the glass completely in. But if you do it just enough, it would put pressure enough in one spot where it would cause the whole window to go, and then you could just poke a hole and lift up the lock, and then gently go in the car, and like at nighttime, if you do that, if you break a window but don't bust it all the way out, and you can poke a hole and lift up the lock, when you hop in the car, you still have like the glare on the broken window that's shiny. So like if a car drives by, they don't always see the shattered glass. So like you could hop in, and
I
then you have
remember
that.
driving the cars with your socks on your hands. Dumbass shit.
What
Dumb.
I remember being with a car thief who had showed me how to steal cars that were like from the 80s, and he would always have a towel that he kept around his neck. And what he would do is he would use the screwdriver trick with the regular screwdriver, stick it in the window, pull back a little bit towards the mirror, pop, it would shatter, and then he'd poke a hole, lift up the lock, hop in, and he would rip up the steering column, and he would pry out. It was I think it was a spring and a gear, and it was the steering lock. But when he did that, he'd have to tear up the steering column to get to it, but after that, he'd be able to start the car with the screwdriver, and then he would take the towel off his neck and throw it over the steering column so that you
Man,
couldn't see. So if a cop pulled up next to him, like you wouldn't see. You'd have to clean out the
these
glass and shit.
these
But
kids these days don't know how easy they got it.
I went from like messing with clocks to learning how to pick locks, teaching myself how to pick locks at
Oh
the
yeah.
local library, looking it up on textfiles.com. And then like going from there onward to learning about breaking in and bypassing locks and other ways. But that's my passion for security, man, started with that, with physical security. Yeah. Like even just like if you can get to a point where you can order like a firefighter key for an elevator, like you can have all the private floors you want, man. I'm bypassing all your all any security apparatus. Like that's why like, it's such a bad idea when buildings try to use elevators as like security apparatus, where they have like, oh, we need a special card or a special key to get to this floor.
Apparently that dude Deviant, and he's like a white hat guy.
Yep,
This guy Deviant, that's the guy that's like, I've heard his shit. Like he's up
Deviant
there.
Ollam.
Yeah, he's like a black hat speaker, but yeah,
Yeah, I know who he
he's
is.
the
Yeah, I love him. Yeah. He has entire talks on pen tests just with using elevators. I love stuff like that. I think physical security that's how I fell in love that's how I even got into security, really. Like, and then I got into cybersecurity through a buddy of mine, C Wade 12C, who's a phenomenal human being. But
see, I'm just a layman. Like if I didn't have computers, I'd probably be like strong arm robbery, be like my only thing I could do.
well, it's a good thing that we're out in that position, I guess.
I mean, like if it wasn't for this, like I wouldn't be able to feed my family, or I wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to do
for
shit,
sure.
man.
Yep.
I'd probably be locked up. And but for the layman, just yeah, sometimes just to flip the can and see if it opens.
Yep.
You ain't got
Yeah.
nothing to lose.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Do you see the other thing? Speaking of people doing crazy shit, King Odua or Ota, I don't know how you
Oda,
pronounce it. The $8 million opioid ring, I guess it was.
that's yeah, he was like a Hansa alphabet. So they probably got all this shit from like. Okay, so he was on Alphabet, Hansa, Wall Street. Those three have been taken, so they
Yep.
probably got him from once again taken, and it's Alphabet 1. It's I want to make clear, not Alphabet 2.
Yep.
So these three, and then Dream uh would shut down. But yeah, those three. So they probably got this guy from just reverse. And then especially around the crazy thing, especially around the Hansa Alphabet time, everybody truly believed Bitcoin was anonymous. It
But I think anyone who actually did their research knew like the blockchain. It's like they say the internet's forever. The
right?
blockchain's forever, dude. Yeah. But I remember seeing like XMR. First time I ever saw XMR was when it was at like $11. And
Oh yeah,
I was like, what's this crap coin?
$3. Yeah, I was like, yeah. And the thing was, is like, I couldn't spend. That was just like when I first got it, I couldn't spend it until the all 12 or 13 confirmations were done.
Yep.
But that's the thing too is, with you know talking about with the cops hate and stuff. From kind of like I know we're bringing it back up, but churning Monroe.
Yep.
You were the one that was telling me about that.
Yeah. 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 So like, sending it from one wallet to another, is something that, from my understanding, a lot of federal agencies really hate because it totally obfuscates any. I mean, you already have like ring CT. You have a whole bunch of things with XMR that prevents it from actually being something that you get screwed over with. But like using churning methods where you're sending it from one wallet to another that are completely disconnected from each other and have never been used for any other transactions is a really great way to obfuscate, like, if you're gonna do a cash out or if you're going to purchase it for, like, a nefarious buy, like, buy some stolen, or you're gonna try to cash it out in some way, like, if you're gonna go, and try to move that XMR for cash or something.
Do you think? Okay, so here's the thing too: is with the tornado cash, and that was last episode, and like with all these coins, and we're talking about churning and stuff, and talk about uh Dash, aka which I refer to it. That's what I got down with was Dark Coin. That dude,
Yep.
that crazy Cody guy from Texas that was putting out all those 3D gun printed stuff out. He
Oh,
was a part of the
Defense
project.
Distributed? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that guy. But apparently he got some crazy chomo charges or something.
That sucks.
Or you never know, like they would have pinned it. I don't know. But the thing is I heard he got anyway. When Darkcoin first started, the idea was fucking awesome. But now that it's not Darkcoin, it's Dash, and it has an internal mixer built into its blockchain, would they go after the originators just like Tornado Cash?
I mean, they can do whatever they want, and that's like I think the biggest thing. Like any question that starts off with like, "Would the feds do this?" The answer is always going to be if they want to.
And the funny thing too was GanCrab, the ransomware crew.
Well,
When they first started, they only took Dash.
yep,
And I just I've never hear so much. I don't hear that much about the coin and stuff. I know there's you could mix and send shit. But the thing is, it's like I don't know. It's like who do they want to bang and how do they want to bang them?
yep,
Rough or snuff style. Like
yep,
this is your only two options.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But those dudes with the $8 million like opioid ring. Um,
right,
so it was from October of 2016 to May of 2019, apparently. That they got them for, and they like it sold like they charged us like 300,000 pills or whatever that they had
you,
sold.
do you see this part? It's an African name. I'm not gonna mess the name up. But he must forfeit his cryptocurrency now valued at 15 million. He told them that he had it.
That's a bad hit. But they hit him. They hit him. So they hit him with the kingpin statute, which basically is a statute that they use to give you a life sentence if you're a drug dealer.
So, okay, here's the thing. I know you've been in the feds. They got phones and stuff. If everything I have is in cryptocurrency,
Yep.
would I be able like I would like say if it was I would use a smartphone to create a wallet and then only have X amount in there where it's not my main stash, but they could crypto in up in the feds and stuff. You could pay somebody an XMR. Would they take it? Like say, hey man, I need like 5 soups, some fucking weed. Give me a quarter, and I want this old boy down here beat. I don't want him thrown off the tier. Will you take XMR?
So I can tell you for a fact, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Just
Yeah.
like, hey, if you're
It's
gonna
money.
stand tall, keep your XMR in your pocket.
Yeah, it's
If
at
you're, if
the
you're gonna keep it 10 toes down,
yep.
keep with your XMR.
Yeah, it's money. At the end of the day, it's money, and like that's it. I mean, that's it, man. Money's money. So, and that it's not a fringe, creepy thing like it was in 2013, 2000. Well, where people like even 2017, man, people are still running around talking about like oh, it's all a scam. It's not real. Um, and it's just I think at this point we pretty much accept like I don't know anyone who doesn't know what cryptocurrency is. And the
Well,
fact of the matter is, back then there absolutely were a lot of people who
that
didn't.
should that should be part of the Darknet Bible vendors, like Yoshi, or I think Drug Hub is probably gonna be the next second. Like if something was to happen, Drug Hub's gonna be the next number one.
I like
Pretty much.
I like their educational section. I think they have a pretty rocking educational section from what I briefly saw.
The Drug Hub admin guy, when I was trying to talk to him, and I was just like, "Yo, man, I've been retired. I'm out here." And he's like, "You're really coming? You really got some real life ops out here?" I was like, "They ain't gonna do shit,
Yep.
But you never know, man. But that's the thing. He was like, the people were just like, "Oh, I can't believe you're coming out of the shadows and this and that because you got people out here that still got problems with you." And it's like, they're all up in Europe and they ain't gonna do shit. But you never know. They might pull my card. That's the thing. You got to be ready.
Yep.
That's on OPSEC too, man. It's like if you blow your shit, it's broken arrow. Hey, man, you got to be strapped. Be strapped and be ready to get ready to bust.
Yep.
If you have to, make sure. They were talking about the mixed max. They don't know about. I'm not even gonna talk about Mitch Max ammo. We'll talk about that next episode. How to shoot a gun and make it look like it was 4 shooters, but it was actually 1.
Yep.
Mix match the ammo.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'll have to pull that out. I won't be able to put that on YouTube.
we're gonna pull that ammo. Okay. All right. Well, hey, I think it's time we're about to roll it down. And then we've been getting a lot of downloads from all over the world. So just shout out to Australia, Japan, Brazil, all over Europe, all over. We don't got one Canada. People in Canada will turn on, but everybody else is.
Yeah, we appreciate all the support that's out there. It's definitely been pretty crazy seeing the numbers and seeing the response from people. Especially even just like for me, I mainly just check the YouTube channel and seeing like people hit the like button and the amount of subscribers that are coming in from it. But really, the comments that I see on the channel are absolutely phenomenal. It's really cool to engage with the community on so many different topics and on a regular, such a regular basis. I mean, we're still learning our way, but I mean, it's just crazy, man. We're already episode 4. I think I said on episode 2 is like it'll be interesting to see where we're at on episode 10, and like we're rapidly approaching that, man.
We're getting love from the people. We're getting love from like every side of the dark, like on the darknet that we report and where we come from. They're showing us love. We get love from the users, the vendors, love from even some press people. Like, dude, this is kind of like a dream for us, and it's actually becoming like a really going up somewhere.
Yep.
So
I like the fact that we can. I know when I do videos, I tend to hyper focus on them, and I have a very very high bar for my own production quality that is always going up because I go and I learn something like I'm like, oh, this is motion blur, and now I have to like implement it with everything and like so my
Sam,
standard.
for y'all to know, Sam's a habitual overachiever. He's constantly crossing that line. He's a habitual offender of
Yep.
overachieving.
So the interesting thing about this podcast is it forces me to have to do an edit really fast. Like typically a 1 hour video, like the Archetyp video, would be like a month long project. Like where it's like 10 hours of video editing and it's like just constant hardcore video editing for me anyways, because
And
I'm still a novice.
the fans' comments though, they're shaping the way that the video's coming out. So, and the
Yeah.
thing is,
Yeah.
is I'm gonna get a camera. Like I know you got your camera, I'm gonna get my camera in,
Yep.
but we're gonna do that after we, the LLC is all done and we can take donations and
Yep.
But yeah, dude, thanks for all the love, guys, because this is surreal. Watching people, they hear my voice all the way in like Belgium and France and
For sure. Yeah. And thank you for
Australia.
your input too. So I know that there was,
I want to go. Like I was talking about Australia though too. It's like maybe an Australian can get up in there. Like, how legal is it if I could buy a wallaby for my wife?
what the hell?
You know, the little tiny kangaroos?
Yeah, I know. It's
I would treat it real good. And then, like, my place is kind of like Australia. It's just like, dude, I'm like, Rocco's Modern Life? A wallaby. Remember Rocco's Modern Life from, like, Nickelodeon when we were kids?
I don't know why I didn't have Nickelodeon when I was a kid. We were too broke.
I mean, I think it was up until 2000s, bro. But, yeah, little tiny kangaroo. Price, please. Buy wallaby off the darknet. I'll do it.
But no, I mean, for me, it's been kind of the fan led model of like people telling us this is what I would like to see, and kind of going with their improvements has been really cool to watch the community kind of evolve the podcast itself. And speaking of that, did you want to drop like the email address? So if people like want to get a hold of like Roach specifically, they can do that.
Yeah. I'm still doing the email server.
Okay. All right.
The thing is, it's just like there's a lot of stuff this week, but I'll definitely get the email. I'm gonna make a whole contact page. I'm gonna take away the canary and I'm gonna put a contact page there.
Yep.
I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's just, crazy storms, heat bubbles where it doesn't stop rising at night. It's crazy over here right now.
Yeah, that's why I love Vermont. All right, yeah. It was a great podcast, man. We appreciate all you tuning in. And I definitely look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. You want to take us out, Roach?
Yeah, man. Thank you guys and thank you, Sam. And hey, man, just we're on Apple, Spotify, the website. Just check Antenna. Antenna Pod? Find us everywhere. We're on YouTube, anywhere and everywhere. And just if you're down with it, hey, tell somebody else, man. And thank you.